So what did you do after 85?
Well, I was getting to be, I was 39 years old, and I thought, well, jumping, I've done that. I'll go down on the ramp, I'll go down the runway on the ramp. I love to go down the ramp, which had a little building there, really nice building. And I was there for 3 years, running the ramp, manifesting the planes. You can't go anywhere in Alaska on planes. And we had a really good fire bus, great down. I really loved it down there. We get on a radio, we were getting orders from upstairs AFS building. And we'd manifest, we'd weight the gear they want to send out to fire.
This is for BLM stuff?
Yeah. No, this is all BLM.
Yeah.
They'd have 3 or 4 contract planes. Sometimes they get, during the fire season, they got a ton of them. And I was ramp manager. I loved the job. And I was a boss. And, well, one of the reasons I liked it, because a lot of girls were working down there, a lot of Smokejumper wives and girlfriends. So they called me Mac and his girls, Rat Mac and his girls.
Oh, that's fun.
They call me Rat Mac. I'm still going by that now.
Yeah.
After 40 years.
Ramp Mac or Rat Mac?
Rap Mac.
Rap Mac, okay.
We can't. Well, I was called Rat Bitch for a while. Rat Mac. That's a really pretty girl down there. A lot of them were really good at what they were doing. Of course, I was the boss. Maybe during the fire bus, we'd have maybe 3 or 4 of them. We'd run them 24 hours a day, which you could do in Fairbanks. I died over 3 years, and I kept going down the runway. I was from 89 through 96 was my last year. I was a fueler down the end of the runway. Another job I really loved. We'd set up fuel sites. There's like 2 or 3 of us down there. We had a little Quonset hut. We had barrels of fuel, roll of gods. Fire was real close. We'd have really good, we had brand new, toward the end we had brand new fire trucks, fuel trucks. First couple of years, the fuel trucks we had was a pile of junk. We got brand new ones toward the end there, 96. And we ran for cadastral. If some guy was running a helicopter doing survey, we'd run up there with a fire truck. If the project fire was close to the road, which is very few roads in Fairbanks. In fact, I went all over the state on the roads. And one year, I'll always remember this, Don Bell and I this was like May. We had to set up we had to set a fuel bladder at 2 places. We had to set up Prudhoe Bay, real close to Point Barrel. We went up there, blizzard, snow, incredible. I mean, it was, the pilots, they were setting a cadastral, reading newspaper, and the Casa reading newspapers, having a good time. Don Bell and I are setting up a fuel site. It's tough to do. The rubber gets brittle, stiffens right up. We had to put up the pump and everything else. We were just freezing our butts. Well, the pilots ran out of time, of course, way up there. So we flew into Barrow, and pilots had to take time off. And I had a limousine. They had an old beat-up limousine for a taxi, the only taxi in town. It was famous. I saw articles even before I rode in it. I was in 2 limousines in my life. One of them was in maybe 90, 91 Barrow. The other one was, I rode a limousine with my dad. It was funeral service, so I was in a limousine twice. And one was in, never ever buy anything new in Alaska because the weather, the roads would just beat it to crap. This limousine was just, and how he got up, I don't know. Probably had to pay a lot of money to have it. Flew up there, maybe came in on bars. And anyway, the guy, he was famous. Anyway, that's the only time I ever ridden. Well, up until that time, the first time when I rode him 7 years ago, my dad passed away. So the other, one of the good jump stories was my last year in 80. No, wait a minute. This is 1980. I wrote a letter, I wrote an article, and they printed it in the newsletter in 80, and I named it Apocalypse Now. And the guys who ran it, they had to change it because I didn't know it's a trademark. The film came out the same year the film did, almost. Oh. And it was Apocalypse Now fire. Vopar, we flew right at the head of Chena River. There's a Chena had the main, had the north, south, and at the middle branch. Right headwaters in the mountains, some guy had he turned out to be a professor in Fairbanks College, and this fire was going right next, it was early in May or June. It set out a lot of sandbars, a lot of ice in the river. We jumped it, and every once in a while I heard this kaboom, bang, crash around the fire, and it was a fire. There a lot of fire cache were there. The guy his plane, he had maybe an otter. He'd land on this big ice field, and he'd drop off all of his gear, fuel, gun. The guns are going off. And I said, something's strange going out there. And my fire boss, he saw a dot out in the middle of the sandbar. It was a combination sandbar and ice field right on the river. And they said, there's a guy out there. Go up there and ask him what's going on. Okay, and I was an old guy, so my fire boss, his name escaped me. Anyway, I walked out there. The guy was squatted down right in the middle of his field. He started to get bigger and bigger as I got to him. He was about my size now. I went up to him. He had a gun, a rifle sitting there. I said, oh boy. In Alaska, most people, when they jump to fire in a PG bag, they carry a gun for bears. Most of us did. I didn't do it, but a lot of other guys did. Just so happens on this 8-man fire rate, nobody had a gun. And nobody was a smoker, which comes a little bit later on in this story. The guy was squat there, and I said, hey, what's going on? Do you know anything about the fire? And I think the guy either said, I killed a son of a bitch, or I will kill a son of a bitch. So I kind of turned around and walked. So I was really worried I could probably get blasted in my back. And I went back there, and the fire boss, his name was Blue Leader. We called him Blue Leader. Anyway, he said, oh, I told him about this guy. He said, oh, we're in trouble. Anybody got a gun? Nobody brought a gun. So we went around the fire picking up all the ammunition. Came across and burned out. A couple of rifles were burned out. We grabbed the rifles. We held on to us. And he sent me out with another guy with a rifle to get this guy. And the guy, he didn't say a word. And we took him back to the fire. We sat him down there, and he just kind of hung his head. And he said, any guys got a cigarette? He didn't say, he was sitting there hours while we were putting out the fire. No, nobody had a cigarette. I said, I'd give $1,000 for a cigarette to give this guy. Anyway, he was sitting there for so long. We had a fire pit there toward the end of the day. We got up and went down to, we one of the guys went down to the river to get a bunch of dead branches from the fire. He took a swing at this guy, one of the jumpers down there. The jumper, man, these names I'll remember him. He was on a detail from Reading. Big guy. I mean, he was a Arnold Schwarzenegger type of looking guy. He grabbed the guy, beat him up a little bit, brought him back to the fire. We had a bunch of cargo strap. We wrapped the guy up, glass tape. We strapped him up there by the fire. The guy just kind of hung his head. I'm going to kill this guy. I'm going to kill this somebody. Well, we got a radio. We call up Al Dutton. So we got a problem here. We think this guy started a fire and burned a bunch of supplies here. There may be some dead people on this fire. So we said, okay, we'll call the state troopers. We're going to send a couple of helicopters out there, and we're going to send out some retardant planes. And the retardant was up in circle. It looked like apocalypse all over. The planes were circling the fires to scare these people, trying to find something on the ground. Looked like dead bodies. They had a C-119. We had a Catalina circling for hours up there. And here comes the helicopters coming over the ridge. I thought I'm Robert Duvall.
Really?
In Apocalypse, where the guy says, yeah, smell of napalm in the morning. You know, I thought, geez, this is it. Well, we had a helicopter landed, and the state trooper got out and said, what's going on? I think something strange is going on out there. We saw up the canyon the professor, the guy from Fairbanks, who had a gold mine up in there. So we got on a plane, I got on a helicopter, two of us, me and the trooper and Blue Leader. Went up there. We found a place on the sandbar, and the pilot. And we landed. We went up to a little fire pit, and we found a professor. We told him all about it. And the guy was, oh God, no, didn't happen to me. Well, the guy kind of screwed up. He had a buddy in Florida, for crying out loud. He had a bunch of guys, little guys that wanted to come to Fairbanks and take in the Fairbanks last experience, and there were like 3 or 4 more. One was a cook. One was this big 300-pound guy we had, and they kind of went down the river to catch a flight out. They got pissed off. Mosquitoes. They had their last experience. They want to get out, go back to Fairbanks, and probably go back to Florida. He was the only guy there. I said, well, unfortunately, one of your guys just started a fire down there. Your fire cache, your cargo cache, destroyed all your equipment. So we flew back to the fire. We landed. The guy was all strapped up, and I said, okay. The guy, of course, the trooper was in charge, and another helicopter landed. Well, one was a state helicopter, trooper helicopter. The other was one of our helicopters. They would pick up the other 8 guys. Back in that time, we had about 9 guys with a trooper, me and the big guy. So you had to have 2 planes in there. So we got everything up, and the trooper had some handcuffs. He handcuffed the guy to the bottom of the Huey. I sat on one side of this guy, and one of the jumpers on the other side. So it was like there was 4 of us. Took off back to Fairbanks, and the rest of the guys got in their BLM contract chopper, and they followed us back to Fairbanks. That's kind of in the story. I don't know where happened this guy, but we went to Fairbanks, and they dropped us off, and the guy took this, the trooper took this big guy over there, went in town.
Well, thinking back